how have you been? So, my name is Kathleen, I'm Brazilian, and I love talking about books. And today I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience while reading the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. And this book has like a sentence here on the cover that says 10 ways to share your creativity and get discovered. So, Austin is the same author from the book Still Like an Artist, which is a bestseller according to the New York Times. And this book is very, very interesting for people who work with creative jobs, like if you are a writer, maybe if you work with marketing, if you work with paintings, like any kind of creative job, like if you are a YouTuber, it's going to be good for you too if you have to create videos online. They like the book brings a lot of good tips and ways in which you can showcase your work to the world and how to communicate that you are an artist without being afraid of, without being ashamed. And this book really helped me, and I would love to recommend this book to everybody who works with creative things because it's very realistic and very straightforward, like it doesn't give you excess, like a lot of excess information that you will never use. Actually, it's very straightforward. The chapters are very short. It brings many quotes from like famous people, and when I talk about famous people, it could be like from any area, like musicians, singers, painters, directors, writers. He brings a lot of quotes here, and it has like people who work with technology too. So any quote that he has, like that Austin has ever heard and that he considered interesting for the chapter, he writes it in here. And I think it's a very good book. I love the way that they produced it. Like the font, like the size of the font is really good, and it has like many pictures, and it is also like a piece of art, like some pages bring messages, but the way that the messages are displayed here are these ways are very interesting to me. I think that, he did a really good job making the book visually interesting and visually, how can I put that? The book visually catches your attention, like you pay attention to the information. This is the way that he divided the chapters, so it's like really big and it fits like 2 pages. The book itself is small, like compared to my hand, it's a square book. Like the size and the shape of the book's not like a traditional kind of book, in like in the sense that it's square, not a rectangular. The way that the chapters are divided in the book, all the pictures, some images, some graphs too. So, now that I presented the book as an object and I already told you my opinion, I said it's a very good book and that I would recommend to everybody, I'm going to talk about the content. So, I will present the idea of the book with the chapters. The book has the chapters here, so it's easy for you to know what the book's going to talk about. So the first chapter is number 1, you don't have to be a genius. And that's so true. A lot of people think that, oh, I can only write a book if I write a book as good as Shakespeare. But yeah, Shakespeare was a genius, what are the chances that you are the next Shakespeare? But he doesn't say it in a way that you have to stop writing or never write, but it means that, like waiting for the time where you become a genius is waiting in vain. Like, you have to start writing now. So if you want to do anything that is creative or artistic, you have to start practicing and you have to start doing it, because you will only get better if you practice. So if you want to write a book, you have to start writing now. You don't need to start trying to write like a 500-page book, but you can start writing poetry or short stories, or like articles, but it doesn't need to be like a scientific article. Or you can have a diary and write a diary. So the focus here in this chapter is to show you that no, you don't have to be a genius to work with your art. You can just do your art, practice a lot, and sell your art, make money from it, and you will get better with time. But no, you don't need to be the best in the world in order to start working with whatever you want to work with that is creative. And let me see if I get some like quotes from chapter number 1, because I really like the quotes. Let me check here. So this is the beginning of chapter number 1, and from the beginning, he says, like, the quote is, "Give what you have to someone, it may be better than you dare to think." Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I've never heard about this person. Maybe this person is very famous in another country, but not here in Brazil. Never heard about this Henry. But yeah, you have to find the kind of people that will appreciate your work. This is like another image from chapter number 1, but you don't need to wait for the moment where you become this amazing, incredible genius that everybody will agree that you are the best in the field. Actually, like, you will have to be an amateur, and this is part of chapter number 1. It's like, think as an amateur. And then the quote is, "That's all any of us are, amateurs. We don't live long enough to be anything else." And the person who said it was a genius himself. It was Charlie Chaplin. He was a genius, like, from the movie. So yes, like, we don't live long enough to be anything else. Like, we don't live long enough to be anything else other than an amateur. And Charlie Chaplin said that. So yeah, just trust that you will be always learning from things, and that you don't need to wait for the moment where everything is perfect and you can be considered a genius to do what you want to do and to create your form of art. Doesn't matter if it's painting, it's sculpture, writing, posting videos online. Just do your best and keep working on it. Number 2, think process, not product. And then in this chapter, he talks about you don't have to wait for your product to be done for you to talk about it. Like, you have to show people, mainly nowadays that we have social media, you have to show people and to show your potential fans or your potential buyers, because if you want to live from your art, you have to sell your art. So you have to show people the process. If you are a writer, how do you write? What is the process? What kind of computer you use? What kind of like keyboard you use to type? How many hours do you spend a day trying to write or writing? Where do you get inspiration? So if you are a painter, how do you paint? What kind of canvas do you buy? What are your brushes? The painting, like, is it oil? Is it acrylic? Do you use both or neither of them? Like, do you do like watercoloring? So show your potential buyers and your potential fans, like, show your audience not only the finished product, because sometimes it takes so long to finish a product. So, for example, if you are a painter, how long does it take you to finish a canvas, to actually finish what you're painting? So if it takes you months, you're going to only post once every 6 months on your social media. Like, how can you gather an audience if you don't show the process, if you only think about the finished end product? So This chapter is about this. Like, you have to show people your process. Think process, not only the finished product. And then one of the quotes that I marked here is, in order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen, really seen. Brené Brown. So yeah, if you want, Brené Brown is a writer. I have read a book from her, but I don't remember the name. Oh my god, what is the name of her book? I read a book from Brené Brown. It is the one about being imperfect, like accepting that you are imperfect. She wrote that book. So yes, I read Brené Brown's book. So I agree with her. Like, you have to show yourself to people. I know that sometimes we get scared or we get embarrassed to talk to people about the things that we create. For example, in my case, I'm Brazilian. English is not my first language. So for so long, I have been scared to like producing content for my English YouTube channel because I am still very afraid of being judged by native English speakers, you know. But the thing is, like, I already create content for my Portuguese channel for 5 years, and the truth is, even though in Brazil we have over 200 million people, not a lot of those people are active readers, and I talk about books online. So, not a big audience there, even though my country is gigantic and we are millions and millions and millions of Brazilians. Not a big audience for people who talk about books in Brazil. So I decided that since I know how to speak English, at least I know it well enough as a second language. It's not my native language. I will never speak English as well as a native speaker, but I speak it well enough that people can understand me. So I decided, like, I need to be seen. I need to produce it in English because then the world is my audience. Like, when I upload something in English, anybody anywhere in the world can watch it and maybe understand it, because we know that English is like the most popular second language. No matter which country you're from, you can be like a native French speaker, a native, I don't know, Nordic, or a native, I don't know, a native Spanish speaker, but probably your second language is English. If you do speak any other language than your native language, it will probably English, unless you are a native English speaker. Then you probably, if you know another language, it's probably French or German. But I mean, that's why this book gave me the courage to come back to my English content, to my English channel, because yeah, that's it. Like, you have to be seen. If I want to create content online and I know how to speak English, that's probably the way, like speaking the language that most people in the world know, even if it's as a second language, you know. Chapter number 3, share something small every day. And yeah, it's similar to think process, not product, but that's it. Like, share little bits of information about your art every day. And then you have to be careful not to be posting too much about your personal life, because here we're talking about show your work, not show your personal life. So if you want to, have people paying attention to your art, you have to show it, but you can share like little bits of things about it every day. Like, oh, you wake up, if you are a writer, like, you wake up, you have coffee, and you sit down to start writing. So like, post a picture of you, like in the morning, sitting down on your computer to write something, but yeah, show little bits of information every day. Let me see if I marked anything here from this chapter. Yes. Here he talks about what you have to show daily. Like, what to show. Not your dogs, not your cats, not your babies, not selfies, not your lattes, not lunch. not the sunsets, but show your work every day. So this is what you have to think about when you're, if you want to make money from your art nowadays, you will have to have like an online presence, even if it's not on YouTube, like social media, you have to have something, or at least a website. You can still create a website. He talks about it. He thinks that having your own website is very important because you can, for example, post videos like me on YouTube, but YouTube is not mine. So I'm creating and uploading my art or my videos uh on someone else's space. It's not mine. I will always have to respect and abide to YouTube's rules. I don't create the rules here. I just follow the rules because it's not my own space. But if I like buy a domain and I create my own website, my website is mine. I can do whatever I want with it. I can post whatever I want. And I decide when to close or not the website. But if you think about like in the big picture, YouTube's not mine. So if YouTube decides to erase my channel, I cannot do anything about it. If YouTube closes and becomes TikTok point two, I can't do anything because it's not my own space. Yeah, my channel is my space within someone else's space. So he talks a lot about have your own website, even if you're not like a company. If you paint, like have your own website to showcase your paintings. If you're a writer, have your own website to showcase your books or your short stories. If you create videos, have your own website and upload your videos there too. Even if you upload on YouTube and there, but at least if anything happens to YouTube, you still have your own website, you know. And chapter number 4, open up your cabinet of curiosity. So this is about being curious. I marked here a quotation from Paul Arden, I'm sorry. The problem with hoarding is you end up living off your reserves. Eventually, you become stale. If you give away everything you have, you are left with nothing. This forces you to look, to be aware, to replenish. Somehow, the more you give away, the more comes back to you. Paul Arden. So he talks about don't be a hoarder, but be curious in the sense that you don't have to collect everything on your space. You don't have to, you know, um, get like you don't need to buy all the books in the world, but you need to read to get inspiration. You don't need to collect every sort of canvas in the world, but be curious about other artists, like other artists that do what you do. What do they do? Have you ever thought about it? Have you talked to them about it? Be curious, research about other people who do what you do. Like, what are their inspirations? What do they read? What do they look for? Do they go for walks? What is it that makes them curious? You can be curious about that, but also be curious about everything, because the more you learn about the world and everything, more inspiration you will get. The more inspiration you will get, and then you will be able to create more. I marked here some questions that like he wrote that he wrote here. The questions are: where do you get your inspirations? What sort of things do you fill your head with? What do you read? Do you subscribe to anything? What websites do you visit on the internet? What music do you listen? What movies do you see? Do you look at art? What do you collect? What's inside your scrapbook? What do you pin on the cookboard above your desk? What do you stick on your refrigerator? Who's done work that you admire? Who do you steal ideas from? Do you have any heroes? Do you follow anyone online? and then he says in another paragraph, your influences are all worth sharing because they clue people into who you are and what you do, sometimes even more than your own work. And also in this paragraph here, he's talking about sharing other people's work, not only yours, because he will talk a little bit more about this on chapter number 7, but be curious about others people work, but also share those people work with your audience, because this will make your audience understand a little bit more about you, because they will understand what you admire. And yeah, be also curious about what your audience likes, because I mean, if they are your clients, if they are your audience or your fans and they buy your stuff, you know that they like what you do, but do they like everything you do? And aren't they curious about the things that you like too? And I don't know, just recommend other people's work that you are impressed with too. Number 5, tell good stories. So the tell good stories is about telling things in a way that are like telling stories or showcasing your work to your audience in a way that is interesting to them, that is concise, but at the same has like a beginning, a middle, and an ending. Even if it's like a short thing during the day, like, oh, I started writing this in the morning, and then a picture of the progress in the afternoon, and did you finish or not in the evening. Like, be good at telling stories to your audience. I know I have to improve on that because I'm not very good at telling stories. I always lose myself. I lose my train of thoughts all the time. So yeah, I need to get better at telling stories, because I think it's very difficult for me to understand what other people like. I usually do the things that I like. For example, the kind of videos that I create are the kind of videos that I like watching, even though I'm very curious about what other people do. So like chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are very easy for me to put it like in practice. But chapter number 5, which is tell good stories, for me it's hard because I don't know how to tell a good story. And also, I don't know what the people who watch my content think it's a good story. Like, what would they want to watch from me? So tell me in the comments. I like talking about books, and this channel in English is going to be only about books, because my channel in Portuguese is like all over the place, because I'm trying to create 5 videos a week for more Portuguese channel, so it is a little bit all over the place, but it has a schedule. But here on my English channel, it's going to be 1 video a week about books, any sort of information about books, like a monthly summary, a book I've read, like this one that I've just finished, but it's going to be about books. So as an audience, what else would you like to see me doing or commenting regarding books? Do you want me to talk about authors, like the authors that I like? Do you want me to talk about any specific book, or like my preferences? What you as an audience think is going to be like a good story that I can tell? Like, you can help me with that, because I'm really bad, I think. But I'm trying my best. Chapter number 6. Teach what you know. This is very interesting. I avoided for 5 years to teach what I know on my Portuguese channel. I was so reluctant on doing that because I didn't want my Portuguese channel to become work. I wanted it to continue being a hobby for as long as I could keep it. Yeah, I wanted to make money from the videos there, but at the same time, I wanted it to continue being like, I don't know, a hobby that I make a little bit of money out of, but yeah, not happening. So I started like seeing it as work. So now I'm teaching what I know, which is English. Yes, I know my English is not perfect, but for Brazilians, I speak English better than most because, I've studied for a long time. So, as a second language, I'm an English teacher. So, I decided to teach like things here and there on my channel. So, I have like every Monday, I teach reading in English, and every Saturday, I teach the lyrics from like a song in English. So, yes, like twice a week, I teach English there, and it's because of the book that I've done that. So I'm teaching a little bit of what I know on my online space. And yeah, is it what I wanted from the bottom of my heart? No, I didn't want to have to teach English on my channel in Portuguese because I already do that as a profession. But I realized that if I want to make the channel one day in like 10 or 15 years make any kind of money, I need more people watching it, like the channel in Portuguese. So I needed to start teaching because people watch a lot of things on YouTube, like a lot of classes on YouTube. I know that I focused in a specific area in English, which is teaching reading. But yeah, so I'm teaching English there because it's something that I know, and I'm teaching as a second language specifically to Brazilian people because I speak in Portuguese throughout the video. So yeah, it's just like an informal class, but I'm already doing that. And here, I don't know, cause you know, I can talk about books because I know books, and that's it. Like I've read this book, I know this book, so I'm teaching or talking about my experience right while I was reading it, like how I felt. I enjoyed it. So somehow it is also a little bit of me teaching, like I'm talking about something that I know, which is this specific book. So yeah. Number 7, don't turn into a human spam. And in this case, he's not using spam as like, he's not talking about the word spam as don't send emails to people, but he's talking spam as a person, like a human spam is a person that never listens to other and only talks online. So in this chapter, he's going to talk about the importance of listening to the people who follow you. Not necessarily be okay with hate because it's not about it. It's not about like accepting hate from others. Actually, he mentions like use the block button all the time. If someone is not being nice in your comments, block them, but also listen to your audience. What do they want? What do they prefer from whatever you are creating? This is going to open a communication, like a relationship with your audience, and you will feel more comfortable sharing your work. If you write and you've already published a book, or you're trying to publish a book, or you've published online your short stories, what did your audience talk about it? Like, what did the nice people in the audience said to you? You have to listen. Like, I think that a nice thing to do is to have those like question boxes on Instagram that you can open like a box and people like ask you questions and then you answer it on your stories. But yeah, for me, it's not a tool that I use a lot because I don't have a large audience. Like, usually when I do that, nobody like writes a question, but when they do, I answer. But yeah, I'm trying to always answer everybody who like leaves comments on my comment section on YouTube, mainly on my Portuguese channel. Here my audience is very small, so right now, like, I need you guys to start like writing comments so I can communicate and listen to you, and like learn from the feedback. But also, if anybody is not polite, I will block because I'm not afraid of using the block button. And he mentions that it's very important because it's not only to protect yourself, like using the block button is not just about the honor of the online space, but also it's to make your audience like being there and talking to you. Because imagine, like, if a fan of yours is scrolling through your comments to also comment something, and everything that they see is like people hating on you, they will feel offended because they are your fans, and they will, be mad or sad because they like your work, and there are a lot of people hating on your work there. So you have to protect your fans and your audience from the hate too. So if someone is sending a lot of hate in your comments or on your Instagram or TikTok or whatever, block those people, because you will protect yourself and protect your fans or your audience too, or at least your buyers. People who buy your things, they also need to be protected from the hate. That's why it's important to block people, not only for yourself. Chapter 9, learn to take a punch. And here he's just mentioning how it is important to receive negative um, feedback, but when he's talking about negative feedback, he's not talking about hate. Hate's something that you have to block and remove from your space. But if it's like a feedback that that the person is giving you the feedback sincerely and in a way that it is going to help you improve, you need to be able to take that negative feedback, analyze it, and improve, because sometimes negative feedback it's what you need to become a genius, like to better yourself as an artist. You need to know what are the things that you do well, but also you need to know the things that you're doing that are not working. And usually are the people in your audience who really buy and spend their money and like your work. They like your work, but sometimes even though they like it, it's not perfect. So it's okay for them to give polite, nice, constructive, negative feedback. And you have to learn how to take those punches. Because yeah, it hurts when people say like, oh, you should have done something different, or oh, I liked this and that, but I think that other part could be better. Sometimes it hurts, but if it's a polite, decent critique, it's fine. And sometimes it will make you think and get better after recover from, like, oh my god, somebody told that, or said that to me. It affects you, but after like the first impact passes, you can think about it, and you will see that some negative feedback are there to help you be a better artist. Number 9 is sell out, and this is the most important for me, because if you want to work and survive from whatever kind of art you're doing, you need to sell. There is this like incorrect idea that if you are an artist, you have to do art only for the passion and only for the glory, and like there is like this mystique involved in art. But no, like, you have to survive. You need money to buy food, and you need money to pay for a house to live in. You need money to pay for your, I don't know, car, rent, internet, food, water, electricity. So yeah, you have to sell out. You have to sell your art. Don't be afraid to charge for your art. If you're writing and you want to publish a book, don't be afraid to sell your book. You don't have to donate whatever you're writing, You don't have to donate just because you're an artist. If you're painting, and it takes a lot of money to paint. You need to buy the canvas, a good brush, good like painting. You need to have a lot of colors. So you spend a lot of money to create. You have to charge money to, when you sell it. You don't have to just create art for the sake of creating art. If you want to survive and be a professional artist, you have to sell your stuff. You have to sell whatever you're creating. Don't be afraid, and don't let other people make you feel like you're less of an artist just because you're selling your products. Actually, the fact that other people want to spend their money on your art means that you're good, because you're good enough for people to spend their money on whatever you're creating. It means that you're good. You don't have to just be this magical creature which people consider artists and like die of starvation. You need money and sell your art, and be happy when people pay you for whatever you're creating, because that means you achieved a level where you're good enough that people want to spend money on your stuff. It's just positive. Don't be afraid to make money from your creativity. And number 10 is stick around. And here he's going to talk about the ups and downs that any profession has, but mainly when you work with creative stuff, you will have good months and bad months. You have good years and bad years, but you need to be strong enough to stick around. For example, if you are like creating and trying to sell your products and you're doing really well, but somehow the next collection doesn't work as well as the last collection. I don't know, maybe you are working with fashion and you are creating clothes, which is an amazing form of art too. Maybe like your summer collection does well, but your winter collection doesn't do that well. But you have to persevere. You have to continue posting. You have to continue taking care of your fans, of your community, your clients, and your audience. You have to stick around. You can't. He's talking about being strong enough and trying to gather, like courage and strength to keep on working with this, whatever it is that you're creating, that you're passionate about, and you have to continue even when it doesn't work all the time, because in any profession that happens. I'm a teacher and I have good months and I have bad months. I have good years and I have bad years. And I know that if one day I can make money from YouTube, I will have good months and bad months. So I have to stick around. I have to be strong enough to persevere and continue. And this is what he's closing the book with. I really, really loved this book. I think you should read it, mainly if you work with art, and it will help you develop the courage to show your work, show your art, and live from that. I think it's very important. It's a very good read, it's easy. And I don't know, maybe if you are struggling with your artistic self, mainly because you need to make your artistic endeavor become a profession, this book will help you, I guarantee. So guys, that's it. Okay, thank you for like watching everything up to here. If you liked this video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you come back next week for next week's video. Okay, have a great week. Thank you for the support, and bye bye.